Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 311 Synergy webinar. Our webinar today is titled Quality, Internal Programs, and External Surveys. I know many of us have some type of quality program in our city, but just like us, we wonder what everyone else is doing for this metric. And we have a few cities who have agreed to present today. From the city of Provo, we have Amanda Ercanbrack. She is the Customer Service and Quality Control Trainer. And go ahead and go to the next slide. From the city of Austin, we have Richard Castillo. He's the Service Center Manager for that city. And we have the 311 Director from the city of Knoxville, Russ, Jensen. I'm excited to hear what each of these cities are doing to improve quality. So the next slide talks about a little overview on the 311 Synergy Group. We're an industry networking group on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of information sharing, education, fun, and this group is open to all municipalities with an interest in 311. Our 2015 chairperson is Rob Duncan, and he is the Customer Service Manager for the City of Austin. If you go to the next slide, you'll see we'd like you to mark your calendars for April 26th through the 28th of 2015, where we will have our annual 311 Synergy meeting. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I hope you all can make it. And then our next webinar is on February 26th at 10 a.m. Central Time, no, 11 a.m. Central Time, and that will be titled Over New Technologies. If you have questions, you can upload the questions in the Q&A panel to all. Remember to select all participants so that everyone can get them, and we will address them at the end of the call where we've allotted some time for the questions and answers. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Amanda from the City of Provo.
Hi all, I'm Amanda with the City of Provo, and I'm joined with Karen Larson, our Division Director, and Matt Snyder, our Call Center Manager, so they'll help me if I need some additional information. We just want to get started by giving you an intro into our city, so if you'll go ahead and go to the next slide. We opened in March 2012 as an official 311 call center, but before that we were a utility call center. We operated under the Energy Department up until 2012, and at that point we moved to the City Hall and we became an official 311 call center. We report directly to the mayor, which has been really beneficial. His support has been key in our success, and he's really helped us to be where we are right now. Our hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 6. We recently had a little bit of change in our hours. We were 7 to 6, and we reduced it by 1 hour. It's been really positive. It kind of consolidated our employee work schedules. We eliminated a 4-10s work schedule that we used to be dealing with before, so it really helped to kind of make everything a little bit more uniform. And we really haven't seen any negative customer impact, so it's been positive. We are a college town. We have 2 big colleges nearby, so we do have high call volumes in the spring and the fall. Currently, we have 39 employees. That includes a call center staff and a billing staff, 22 full-time and 17 part-time. And we have a lot of services. We do everything. We do walk-in services as well as over the phone. Right now, we're averaging about 300 walk-in services per day and 500 over the phone. We do utility billing, as I mentioned before, electric, water, sanitation, and so on. We do business licensing, special events, airport badging, fingerprinting, pavilion reservations, general city information, and then also non-emergency service requests. Next slide. So I just wanted to give you an overview of what our organization looks like. This is important because our organization has been really key in making us operate efficiently. I report directly to Karen, our director, and Matt reports directly to Karen, our director. I'm responsible for all of the quality evaluations, the training, and so forth, and Matt handles the coaching with the staff, and that's been really positive, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Next slide. Before we get into our actual quality program, we wanted to talk about what we do to build a strong foundation. We spend a lot of time and resources on training. It's been really important for us to start each employee out with a solid foundation And I think that's been key in having high quality. So I want to talk a little bit about our training. We are averaging about 6 weeks for training. And if you'll go to the next slide, we have a training checklist that we go through. What you're seeing here is an example of about 2 days worth of training. The total checklist is well over 15 pages. Takes a long time to get through it. What I do that I think is a little bit unique is that I sign off after I've gone through something, but we also require the employee to sign off. So we know when they really feel comfortable with that subject matter and they know that they've seen that content, so that later on they know they've been trained on it. So that's been really beneficial. And we monitor everything. We track every little thing that we train on, and we know the date and time that we did it. So that's been really important. Go ahead and go on to the next slide. In addition to our new employee training, we do quite a few different things. We have a weekly huddle meeting. We gather the staff for about 15, 20 minutes. We just pull them off the phones and we go over what's going on throughout the city. We talk about news, any updates, current events, anything going on with the employees, and any updates or notes on processes. If we start to notice problems with any process that we're currently doing, we'll discuss that then. We take questions. So those huddle meetings have been really effective. Employees seem to like it, and it gives them a little bit of a break off the phone. We also randomly do checks throughout the office. We ask that anytime an employee has downtime that they're reading the local news, that they're reading our mayor's blog, our city website. And so we'll randomly throughout the day or throughout the week go around and ask what's on the mayor's blog today or what's on KSL, our local news media. And we just want to make sure that our employees know what's going on. We also have news on in our office so employees can see national news, local news, anything going on. We want them to know it before the customer calls in. So we focus on that quite a bit. And then additionally, we do monthly training. I try to have at least one monthly training. It usually lasts about an hour and a half. We do have to have multiple groups because we have to keep staff on the phone. And we review either an existing process or we'll introduce a new process. But we really spend a lot of time training, and I think that's been key in our quality. We also, during those trainings or sometimes during our quarterly department meetings, we do a group call review. And this is something that I also think makes this a little bit unique, is we'll randomly select a call, and we'll play it for the entire group to hear. And then after the call's been listened to, the employees can give feedback to each other on what they think could have been done better, what was done well. And that's been kind of fun because it's not coming from me and it's not coming from management, and they can kind of coach each other along a little bit. So that's been really positive. And then after the training, we use ClassMarker. It's just classmarker.com to do some testing. And if you'll go ahead and go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about that. These are just some screenshots from ClassMarker for those of you who aren't familiar with it. I don't know what I would do without this. It's been really key in making my job a little bit more efficient. So what I'll do is I put out a monthly, at least one monthly quiz on what we talked about in training, and then we additionally do a safety quiz. We have someone in our office who's responsible for safety procedures, and she'll put out a safety quiz. So we do at least 2 quizzes a month, but we also do random quizzes on anything current, events, anything new going on. So they could have up to 3 or 4 quizzes per month through ClassMarker. Before ClassMarker, I really struggled with paper tests. You have to prepare the test, print the test, get the test back, hope the employee doesn't lose it, and then when you get it back, you have to grade it, you have to enter it into a spreadsheet, you have to scan it or file it. So ClassMarker has really eliminated all of that. The grades are consistent, it's immediate, automatic, and it tracks it for you. I don't have to file anything or track anything. And then you can also input feedback for the CSR. If they answer a question wrong, you can give them some feedback or point them to a different resource to help them answer that question correctly the next time they attempt it. And best of all, it's really, really affordable. So if you're not doing something like this now, I would definitely recommend it. Next slide. So now that we've kind of talked about our foundation and how we get to where we are, we'll go into our quality process. We use Call Copy. It's actually now Uptivity. I believe it's called Uptivity. And we record the calls, and we also capture the screen recording. So we know exactly what the CSR is doing as they're taking the call. We didn't have the screen capture at first, and it still worked great, but the screen capture has been really amazing. I really like it. It also helps the CSRs because if they are doing something that maybe isn't the best or the most efficient way, I can quickly identify how they're doing it and provide coaching on how they can do it better and more efficiently. So I think the CSRs are enjoying it as well. And then it also helps them stay on task during the call. We've periodically had problems with agents who will be reading the news or doing something they shouldn't be doing while they're on that call. But now that they know that we can quickly see what they're doing, it's eliminated that. They know they need to be logged into their programs before they answer the phone. They know that that screen will start to record as soon as they answer the phone. So they better have anything personal or not work-related put away and be logged into everything. And then if I do see them log into something during the call, I, of course, document it and coach them and make sure it's logged in and ready to go next time. The other thing I really like about Call Copy is it allows for bookmarking throughout the call. If I hear something, I can pause the call and add a note at that point in the call. And I can either make the note private or public to be shared, but it's been beneficial to provide written feedback that way because the CSR can listen to the call, and then they also see my note at that same point in the call, and they know what I'm referencing. So that's been a really positive feature with Call Copy that I use quite a bit. And then, of course, at the end of the review, I do provide written feedback, so I will talk about that more on the next slide. This is an example of one of our QA forms. We do have a couple. This is our, I call it our technical QA form. It is quite lengthy. It does take some time to get through, but I think it's been pretty successful in accurately grading the call. So we evaluate our call takers and our billing and collection staff, as well as our cashiers. I evaluate the cashiers a little bit differently, and I'll talk more about that in just a moment. But we try to do at least one evaluation per month. And like I mentioned before, I conduct the evaluation, but then if we need coaching, if there's a problem with the call, I turn that over to Matt, our call center manager, and he can meet with that employee and coach them. And I think that has really helped me to keep myself focused on the actual call and focused on the evaluation, and I'm a little bit more objective about the review, so I really like that approach. And then as I mentioned before, we do our group call reviews, and the other type of review that we just started doing is a review by one of their peers. So they have a peer actually conducting a review. If you'll go to the next slide, please. This is a new thing that we just barely started doing this month. We call it CSI Provo or CSI 311. It's a game that we created to try to get staff working at maximum efficiency. We really want to see how good our staff can be, how good our quality can be. So we've kind of incentivized them a little bit through this game. We've broken them out into 4 different teams, and they have a team leader who isn't anyone in management, it's just a pure team leader. And that team leader watches their stats, they do a quality evaluation every month, and then they'll meet with that employee and kind of coach them along with either Matt or I, but coach that employee on a peer level and give them some feedback on that call. So that's been really positive. I did give a little screenshot in the lower corner of the form that they use. It's basically just a simplified version of my QA form. And then the other form that I use that I didn't mention before is a non-technical QA form. So after I've done the full call review, I'll go through the call and just listen to it without really pointing out anything technically wrong with it, but just get a feel for the overall tone and quality of the call. And then I score it just based upon that, and we call that our non-technical. That accounts for 33% of their overall score. Next slide, please. So in addition to measuring our internal quality in our division, we also want to see how the other departments are doing. I think most of you who are familiar with 311 know that customers can sometimes blame the 311 for not getting their service request done quick enough. So we really want to see how are the other departments doing. Our mayor wants to see how they're doing, and the departments want to see what they're doing. So this is an example of, it's an executive type dashboard that we've given to all directors and our mayor. And you can see how long it's taking each department to complete something. You can see the types of cases they're getting. They can see how many cases we're resolving without having to submit a service request. And it really just kind of, it keeps things transparent, and it's helped departments to have that data at their fingertips, and they're not relying on us for that feedback. And I think in a way it's also kind of made them a little bit more aware of how quickly they are doing something for the citizen. In addition to these dashboards, the other thing that we do to kind of help separate 311 from the department is we send out 2 different surveys. So following the phone call after a service request, we send out a survey asking how the call taker did. And we really focus on the call. and that's sent out immediately following the call, so it's not so much focused on the service request because it hasn't even happened yet. And then after the service request has been completed, we send out a second survey, and that survey focuses on how the department did, if they had any interaction with the field personnel and that sort of thing. So we're getting feedback that's hopefully specific to 311 and not necessarily the department. Next slide. And this is our last but most important tool, is our monthly scorecard. Every month I prepare these scorecards. It includes their quality scores, their stats. The example I've used here is for someone who is both a cashier and a call taker. So we've got different elements for each of those, different components for each of those elements, and they're scored monthly. We go through this and I make notes, and it's based upon their stats. They're given those raw stats, but this gives them an overall feeling for how they're doing. Once I have the scorecard complete, I meet with Karen and Matt and we discuss it and we go through it and talk about what's going on. We identify problems, trends, things like that. And then Matt will meet with the employee and coach them based upon the scorecard. So this has been really, really effective for us. It took some time to get it how we like it. We've been using this for about 3 years and we really seem to like it. So if anyone would like a copy of it, we're happy to provide you with that. And that's what I've got. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Austin and Richard Castillo.
Thank you. With Austin 311, I had actually officially started about 16 months ago. So I came into a quality program that was being revamped at the time, and it has been a wonderful exploration of building a quality program that everyone loves, if you can love quality programs, right? So going to the next slide, please. So the concentration on the quality program was what was wrong. Little to no ambassador input, participation. There was a lack of consistency, and focusing on the wrong things. These were just a few of the items that came in and you would see that were wrong with the quality program. And my counterpart, Rob, was working very diligently on repairing. And they came out and, go to the next slide, please. And we try to rebuild the program and re-engineer it with input from the stakeholders, looking at how the citizens scored us, looking at redefining the metrics, the transactional, the citizens' experience, the various parts of the call. Okay. We went back and looked at standardized training on the program, looked at doing recurrent training with departments, looked at doing recurrent training with the staffing, and expanding, going from a training session that was maybe 30 minutes to an hour to ensure that we had an in-depth coverage. We also expanded to a 3-point quality scoring. So we have the ambassadors that will score the call themselves. They listen to the call before they go into the meeting. Then when they go into their coaching session with their supervisor, they re-listen to the call again with the supervisor. Supervisors are previously scored, but goes back through the call with the ambassador to ensure that there was a complete understanding. We found that this created less arguments during the coaching session. The majority of the time, the ambassador would go into the coaching session and they already scored the person low. They already scored that call lower than what the supervisor did. So many times that the angst that happened beforehand was now alleviated because of those extra 15 minutes that we gave in order to listen to the call before starting the coaching session. Okay. On top of the rebuilding the program, we did go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So we did go to, talking about the ambassadors, going over to the supervisors. They do prepare 1 week for preparation and then the next week for coaching. What we did is we expanded this. So as you do a coaching session, the calls that you would listen to, you can go back in and as a part of the quality program, you would go back in and after you've done the coaching session, see if the agent actually adopted it. So you would plug in for an hour out of the day and listen to the calls. and see if your coaching session actually took hold. This way you got to see some instant gratification on whether or not the coaching session worked. We also made sure to have a quality specialist. The quality scores were used for backups and calibration testing, but we also started tracking to see where was our defects. When we were doing calibrations before, everyone would maybe be a little bit all over the board. As time has progressed, we've been able to go ahead and pick certain areas that needed some clarification. With that, we created what's called a living document. It's our living def doc. So as the definitions needed some clarity, we were able to go in and add some clarifications for the supervisors and for the quality specialist. Thank you. Coaching sessions have become much less confrontational. Instead of lasting an hour and a half, coaching sessions have been able to drop down to an hour, in some cases even less than that. Better understanding of our coaching points and the fact that we got the stakeholders buy-in, they helped design the form, they helped give feedback, a lot less confrontation and a lot less angst with the supervisors having to do the coaching sessions. Using the quality scores to compare with the supervisors just helped us build a better quality team and a better calibration. And then easier recognition. It's easier to recognize points to discuss and improve the operational call quality manual, which is what we call our def doc. Again, basically, it allowed us to go back and create a living def doc, allowed us to make changes as we see fit. On top of this, we also created a ability for the ambassador to dispute the call. If throughout the coaching session they decided that, you know what, their interpretation of the def doc didn't match, they have the ability to dispute the call. The call would then be remonitored again through the quality team. A different supervisor could listen to it, but it would go through our quality analyst person. And that person would listen to it. It would then go to the operations manager for final discussion, and then it can be overturned or it can stay with the supervisor. And if it stays with the supervisor, a meeting is going to be held with the agent to make sure we have clarity, have a good discussion point, and then if it's an overturn, discuss it with the supervisor, but then bring it back into a supervisor meeting so that way all supervisors are clear going forward. And then we have a recognition program that centers just around quality. It has casual day passes, rotational assignments. We made the quality portion a strong piece of part of the 311 in Austin. In order for you to participate in extracurricular activities, you have to have a quality, and quality must be above average, so above an 85. And I will turn it over to Russ. Russ, sir.
Thanks, Rob. I'm Russ Jensen from the City of Knoxville 311, and I am the guy that the tech vendors hate because I'm always bringing things around to, okay, the bells and whistles are nice, the toys are nice, but what does it actually do for the end user and the customer? And I'm a firm believer, as my good friend Albert Einstein was, is if you can't explain it simply, you just don't understand it well enough. So I'm constantly I got the nickname around here, Jiminy Cricket, because I'm constantly going back going, why do we do that? Why do we do that? Why do we do that? And trying to bring things down to simple terms. Really quickly, because I know we're going to be short on time here. We want to leave time for questions. If we'll go to the next slide. When we created our external survey, once again, I wanted to keep it simple. We wanted objective questions. I am a big fan of yes or no. Being a numbers guy and a statistician, yes or no types of answers are a lot easier to keep track of. Plus, I didn't want to overwhelm people with the amount of information we were gathering. We are a somewhat small call center compared to some cities. It's a very close-knit group. I have virtually zero turnover in this call center, and when somebody does move from 311, they promote into other departments. So through the years, we're rapidly approaching our 10-year anniversary, hard to believe. We now have ambassadors all throughout the city of people that have worked in 311 at one time, which makes our life a lot easier. But things we want to know, and this was a screenshot I pulled off of last quarter. Are they being courteous and responsive? You know, are they purveying the type of attitude and personality we want them to over the phone, because they are the front line, they are the voice of the mayor. We want to make sure that's getting done. Are we answering people's questions appropriately? I know it's hard to believe, but they did get 100% on their surveys last quarter. That is not the way it always is, but it usually runs somewhere in that 98 to 99 percentile. I'm very blessed with the folks we have here. Was a service request handled in a timely manner? 85% for that query. I'm going to circle back to that one a little bit later. Were you given a service request or tracking number? We put that in there. That is actually for this current quarter. We have taken that out. We put that in there specifically for a council person who's no longer on council that kept telling us they were getting calls and complaints that people weren't getting request numbers. They weren't a big fan of the whole process to begin with. We put that in there simply so we could record it each and every time. Of the 12% that are not yes answers, most of those are either issues that didn't require a service request, or the people were given the option to say, I don't know, or I don't remember, and most of those were they just flat out didn't remember. So we have been very, very confident throughout the year that we are giving out those service request numbers, but we wanted to be able to show it. And then last but not least, we replaced that question this quarter with are there any services currently not being provided? And while that is a yes or no question in and of itself, there is a follow-up in the service request that we built in the system that asks them to expand on what they would like to see. So we're trying to be a little more proactive in if we're not giving services or what other services people might like to see. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. This is a screenshot of our more internal process. However, it looks somewhat like the one we have for external customers. This is for our departments. And when we do a service request for them, they have the option, if we get data wrong, or if we give them some wrong information, or if we don't code the address right, or if we don't give them the parcel number and permits plus that they need for a codes enforcement issue, anything that they see that they find difficulty with in the service request that we send to the department, they have the opportunity to fill one of these out, and it automatically comes back to us. And since we are a group user in the CSR program, we track these as well. So this reflects directly on our operational report as to how we're doing on our service requests. We maybe get 0.5% to 1% a year, and we are constantly reminding departments that they have the option to do that. So again, we're confident that we're doing well, but more importantly, we are constantly soliciting feedback. As a matter of fact, we just had a program yesterday where we were re-educating some relatively new supervisors on the fact that they have access to this, and if need be, they can use it. So this is just one of the ways that they can give us feedback. I apologize, I should have done a screenshot of the external survey. Both of these are built right into our CSR program. And this is why a lot of the tech vendors hate me. Instead of buying umpty-9 different programs for all these things, I try to do as much with the central program as I can so that we're not running several different programs and having to support them. But the external one is a screensaver, or is a service request in the system as well. And one of the questions Cheryl had for me as I was putting this together is who fills these out? We're very fortunate. I have an ongoing agreement and relationship with the University of Tennessee School of Social Work, and the dean and I came to an agreement 2.5 years ago, and I have a continual supply of second-year master's students as interns for 311. So every August we get a new one, and we have been so happy with that agreement. These are kids that are, right on the last leg of their master's degree. They're very interested in what we're doing here in local government, in our outreach and how we're accessing our customers and how our customers are accessing us, how we work with people that are underrepresented, people with disabilities, senior citizens, and all that. So that person is the one that reaches out and calls people to do our surveys. We try to do 1 to 2% every month. the computer runs a query and picks the service requests that we're going to follow up on, so we don't have the opportunity to cherry pick people we think had a good experience. We also answer the phones for municipal court, so quite often we're calling people that got traffic tickets, so we know they weren't happy to start with. And I've got somebody who is in a separate area and making these contacts that, doesn't have a dog in the hunt, so they can be objective about it. As far as the internal ones, those are sent to us by whoever in the department. Anybody who has access to CSR and is responsible for opening up service requests and moving them along has the ability to send us one of those. So we open that wide up. If we can go to the next one. As I talked about before, our external on-time percentage at about 85% for that quarter, which is pretty close. I would say quarter in, month in, month out, we're running somewhere between that 85 to 88% range as far as customers' perception. To find me cities where 8.5 to 9 people out of 10 are, feel that things are getting done in a timely manner, and good for you, kudos for you. But if you go to the next one of the things that we're really, really happy with, go to the next slide, is 85 to 88% of the public feels we handle things in a timely manner, and 88 to 90% month in and month out, we are on time based on the internal standards that we've set with all the different departments through our service level agreements and our due diligence over time. So the fact that we are matching our on-time performance with the public's perception of what on-time is a huge win-win, and it's one of the many reasons why 311 in particular in Knoxville has been very, very popular throughout the years. But for the most part, the city of Knoxville, we get really high marks for customer satisfaction across the board, public service, public safety, codes enforcement, even when we're dealing with difficult issues. And it's a kind of a tricky thing. You really have to sit down and work with departments to make sure, we're being realistic when we first set time standards in particular. Everybody wants to set the bar kind of low. But when you're doing these surveys, if you're on time, if you say you're on time 95% of the time, but only 25% of the people think you're doing things in a timely manner, you are not matching your standards to your customers' expectations. So we're really, really proud of that number. And that was all I wanted to touch on. I am all about keeping it very simple. I really enjoyed actually listening to our first two presenters, and I was taking notes vehemently because I know our quality people in several departments will be interested in some of this, but we really do try to keep it very simple, very customer-focused, very end-user-focused. Every time we ask a question, the follow-up question is, how does that affect our customer? What's the return on the investment, either in time or money on that? So I would encourage people to do the same as they're either setting up their programs or tweaking them in the future. And with that, I think we're ready to move on to questions.
Yes. Now, thank you to Amanda, Richard, and Russ for presenting today. I took a lot of notes as well. So I think that I'm interested in getting maybe copies of, for sure, the report card or whatever the report is at the end of the month that Provo uses. I'm kind of curious about the call quality manual in Austin, and as well as possibly even using the same type of service request like you use, Russ. So thank you very much. So this is great information for the cities with quality programs already established, as well as those cities who are interested in establishing quality metrics. If you have any questions, please upload them in the question and answer section. And just remember to select all panelists so that we can all see the questions. I don't right now see any questions. I don't know if anybody else has seen any questions.
They're either too easy or we bored them to death.
That's right. Do you see one?
It looks like we do have a few.
Oh, okay. I have to scroll down a little bit more.
Did you see them?
I do. So the first question was, please email me a copy of the monthly scorecard, and that's what I was talking about as well in Provo. And then Margaret Wright asked the question, how many calls are scored per agent per month, and what is the breakdown between the number scored by supervisors versus the number scored by quality staff? So maybe if each of the cities could answer. Provo, can you answer that question?
Was the question how big is our staff?
No, how many surveys are monitored by supervisors versus the number of calls monitored by quality?
Oh, sorry. So currently it's just me doing quality. Our goal is about 1 to 3 per month. So it just depends on the month and other work that's coming in, and then Matt, our call center manager, goes through whatever I evaluate.
Okay. Austin? I think we might have lost them. Rob, do you know the answer to that?
I'll jump in there for Rob in case he's off the phone. As I said, we try to do 1 or 2% of our external. While the supervisor or the lead agent reviews them all, it is indeed the intern that actually fills them out. Now, the intern goes through about a month and a half for the training on all the different things that we do throughout the city before that, so it's not like they don't have any idea what we're doing. But they are as objective as I could possibly find for somebody in the building, aside from actually having a quality assurance officer, which, being a relatively small center, we don't have. So I take advantage of that person to do that.
How many calls do you monitor a month? Do you know? Do you have a set number?
We do them live, and we do about 10 for each agent a week. And now on that one, the lead agent does that. The supervisor does it, and she evaluates them. I didn't touch on that one because I knew Provo and Austin were going to look at some of those things. That's why I focused on the external.
Okay.
So the supervisor actually does do the call monitoring, and she does that live, and then there's a whole other feedback cycle for those. But on the external, we have the intern do those.
And how many are they doing?
1 to 2%. We do about 44,000 service requests a year. And I think we're leaning more in the 1.5% range right now.
Okay.
I'd like to do 2% and above. It's just not realistic time-wise for the intern right now.
And we do also have a question for you, Russ, from Ryan,
Sure.
who wants you to explain the partnership with the university a little bit further in detail. One of the questions I had was, how long do you get them? It sounds like, do you get them for the whole school year?
Yes, they are second-year master's students, and I was leery about it when I was first approached. Actually, it was the School of Social Work approached us, and we have done some work with MTAS, our statewide data tracking through the university. We partner with them on several things, along with the Alliance for Innovation through ICMA. I have a long-standing relationship with the Dean of Social Work over there. We sit on a couple of boards together. But even at that, when I was first approached, I was a little leery because I have had some bad experiences with interns in the past. However, those were younger interns, usually summer-type stuff, and I felt that, about the time we got around to teaching them to do something, it was time for them to leave. And, basically it became, for lack of a better word, kind of a summer daycare, and I didn't think they were getting anything out of it, and I didn't think we were. Second-year master students are a completely different picture. They're very focused. They're very close to graduating. They're usually working on some form of paper. They're very motivated. They're very good with tasks and assignments and time management. So we sat down and we said, okay, and I am basically one of their student advisors under this arrangement. We also have another woman here that works in the mayor's office who's finishing her PhD in the same school this year, and she's actually their academic advisor. So between the two of us, in the beginning of summer, we kind of do basically a plan for the year, and that's their school plan for basically what is one course for them. And we work together, and she or he has coaching sessions throughout the year. We are in the middle of our second intern, so we're 3 years in now, and I couldn't be happier. These kids are great. This one that I have right now, Shannon, she's actually going to be published when she graduates on a program that we're doing with senior citizens. So she'll walk out of here with her master's degree and published. So I'm confident she will be able to get a job when she leaves here.
Wow. All right. It looks like Austin answered that they do 6 calls per month. And then someone, Joyce, you asked, how big is your staff? I know Provo provided it. I know Austin is fairly big. I'm not sure what the size is.
And we have about 80 CSRs in Austin.
Yeah, and in Austin, you also handle the electric. Is that correct?
After hours outage calls, yes.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Russ.
And in Knoxville, this is the smallest call center I've ever built. We have 9 operators here. The largest I built was for ambulance dispatch in Los Angeles, California, and that had 124 stations. So this one's easy.
In Dallas, we have about 80 to 90 agents with 7 supervisors. So someone's asking for, they like the checklist for the training, Paula in San Antonio, and she wants to know if we can share some examples from different cities. Maybe we can put something up on LinkedIn where we start a conversation where people start sharing it, and we can do that for you.
Absolutely.
As well as a copy of the presentations. Those will be on LinkedIn later today or by tomorrow. There'll be a PDF as well as a copy of the actual webinar later today, and you'll be able to click on the link to see them. Let's see, what other. Were you going to say something, Russ? I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with the file sharing.
And then what is your ratio?
One more thing that I'll add, Cheryl. This is Rob from Austin, is that some of the questions about the ratios and how long the training is and how many agents folks have are questions that we also answer in our yearly survey. So if you are not or haven't participated in that in the past and would like to get some of that information on what some of the other centers are doing, please request that from Cheryl so that we can get you added into our comparative survey where we do all the 311s and ask specific questions about trying to get information that might be helpful to all the 311s out there or the folks that are thinking about opening a 311.
That is good information. Thank you for reminding me about that. I know the ratio of agents to supervisors is about 13 to 14 here. What is it in Austin, Rob?
We're about the same.
And then, Russ, you have 9 to 1, right?
You're technically 8 to 1. Yeah.
8 to 1. Provo, what do you have?
15 to 1.
15 to 1. And then Joyce asked, do we offer any bonuses or incentives for quality performance? I know here in Dallas we do some of the best incentives that we have are tardy removals, the free thing that we can offer to them, but, you know, because it's part of our attendance policy is that, you can get tardies after 5 minutes because we really need you on the phones when you are scheduled. So some of the incentives that we offer are tardy removals. We also offer shadowing, try to do some of the free things so that it doesn't cost the city too much. I don't know what the other cities are doing, but if you would like to share that, go ahead.
We don't offer any monetary incentives in Austin. We try to look for those things that people have value with, and sometimes that's wearing jeans instead of wearing, casual or business casual. So we try to do that. We've done movie passes in the past, any number of things that really don't incur a lot of expense because budgets have been pretty tight. So.
And also, we've also the higher ranking on their shifted.
Oh, okay, okay.
And here in Knoxville, I've gone back and forth on this issue because I've done it a little bit differently out in Los Angeles, but here it is such a tight-knit group, and they are internally competitive as it is. we've chose not to kind of rock the boat, so to speak, by, putting any individual awards out there. We do some team things when we have opportunities to interact with other departments. Like we just finished our United Way campaign, and this department raised their giving 35% over last year, which was by far the highest department in the city. And then we go out of our way to recognize them at that. And then, when we get opportunities to do movie passes, we give them out to the group as a whole. So we've got kind of this community environment to begin with in such a small room. But I am not opposed to doing those things, in particular if you have a bigger department.
All right. In Provo?
In Provo, we do have a yearly incentive bonus, and that's tied in with the game that I briefly mentioned earlier, our CSI Provo. So there is some money associated with that.
I really like that CSI Provo. I may have to steal that one. Looks like Jackie has a question regarding external surveys. What feedback have you received from the departments regarding survey results about their performance, completion of work in a timely manner? I think, Russ, you talked about that, didn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Read me the question one more time. I want to make sure I answer it right.
Or maybe it was Provo, actually. But regarding external surveys, what feedback have you received from the departments regarding survey results about their performance? It was Provo. Completion of work in timely manner. Did you see that question, Amanda?
Yes. So regarding the external surveys, we actually just switched to a new CRM earlier I guess it was last March, and we are still compiling results right now, so we really don't have a lot of data to speak on right now. We do have a third party handling that survey.
I know we provide whether the departments are completing their service requests in the service level agreement timeframe that they have agreed to, and they do like seeing that. It keeps them on their toes as well. So as far as I know, there hasn't been a lot of complaints about getting that type of performance information.
Well, I will jump in on there, because when I first came here to the city, they had absolutely no functions for both either measuring those standards or getting those feedback, and it was a major culture shift, and there was a lot of resistance to it. But once the departments, and it took a little while, once they figured out that our job wasn't to show people how poorly they were doing, but to give people factual data, and that it really showed just how much work they were doing and how rapidly they were doing things like filling potholes, or in particular after a snow or a freeze and a thaw, how many tons of leaves they're doing over the course of a couple of weeks, they became the biggest fans. And they used the data, and for the sake of argument, if they get a poor survey score on getting things done in a timely manner, and that matches what we're measuring on their internal standards, they don't look at that as, oh my gosh, you're killing us, you're saying we're doing a horrible job. They take that at budget time and say, hey, look, I can only do so much with what I got. We need to look at our priorities and what have you. And they have used that in budget cycle on more than one occasion successfully to get additional resources.
That is good information. That is true. Now, someone asked for Amanda, who does the 6-week training of the new staff, and then they want a copy of your 15-page training agenda.
I will do that. If you'll send me an email, that would be great, and I'll send that back to you. I do all of the training, so that's why we do have a lower number of quality evaluations per month than most of the others, because I do spend a lot of time training.
I bet you're kept busy. Now, in Dallas, we have 4. The supervisors are required to do at least 4 monitors per agent, as well as our quality assurance folks, they do 4 as well. But our quality assurance team is in the process right now of doing the external surveys, and we just started that in the month of December. And we are as well trying to do about 1% of the calls that come in, and that's been a learning process for us as well. But we just really don't have a lot of data just yet to share on how well it's going, but we are getting some positive feedback and valuable information back from the people who call in. You know what, Guy, actually I think what we'll do is I believe that we will put this up as one of the PDFs on the LinkedIn site under 311 Synergy for this webinar. If we can't do that, then I will make sure that we get it to both of you guys. I think Elizabeth wanted a copy as well. But I believe we can put this as a PDF, her agenda and information on LinkedIn. Any other questions? All right. Well, we appreciate the interaction with this call today, and we look forward to next month's call on February 26th. Be looking for the information for that webinar. That one will be about new technologies, and we're looking for a couple of the cities who have implemented a few of the new technologies that have been out there for some of the different things that we use in the 311 call centers. So look forward to talking to you guys then next month. Have a great day.
Thanks, Cheryl.